We have not decided how we're going to introduce these three monkeys, these three, well, I can't say some of the words that y'all just said, but both Joel Comm, who just disappeared, he's probably pushing the iFart out, and there he is. Joel Comm, ladies and gentlemen. Yep. That is the author of the iFart app. And by the way, in case you think it's just a silly app, it made $500,000. Joel Comm was on our stage many, many years ago. Actually, we got you on our stage, Joel, at the same time we got Pat Flynn. So it was absolutely an exciting day. So
this is my favorite.
iFart.
It's disgusting. I don't want to talk about it.
And that is, this is the special guest for a special Thursday edition. Joel Comm, ladies and gentlemen, author of many books, keynote. Both of my guests actually have been keynotes. They've been MCs for events. Joel and I go back, I don't want to say 20 years because that makes it sound old, Joel. So I feel like you go back that long. I just go back with you a couple years ago.
I'm relatively old. I'm older than your average adult TikToker. I'll tell you that.
That's true. That's true. Does that mean you're older than Owen Video?
No question.
Why so have the better looking?
Yes, the younger, the better looking, new and improved digital marketer, Owen Video, who I met several years ago, interestingly enough, virtually. I met you when you were doing a video for Michael Stelzner, and it was about an Instagram post, and I thought, wow, this guy does not hold anything back. It was unbelievable, and I've followed you ever since and have joined your live shows and love what you do. So welcome.
Yeah, thank you so much. Hey, it's good to be here. We've been friends for a while. I hope that our audience is ready to lose IQ points today, because when Joel and I are in the room, you know, we're not setting the bar too high, but I think it's going to be a fun conversation either way.
There is no bar. The bar is down the street on the corner. That's where the bar is.
I told both Joel and Owen that in order to open up, they now have to set the bar just that much higher, because last week we had the William Hung and he opened up with She Bang. And you guys, you decided iFart app.
It's a tough act to follow, but I'll tell you, Joel Comm has a very Neil Diamond-y look. So I think you find I would have liked like a September Morn.
They come to America.
There you go. The lead song from the jazz singer. It's actually in my family's favorite playlist. Is that soundtrack? And so I appreciate.
By Joel Comm. So Owen, even though I think we know, you and I know that Joel is anti-TikTok, you are pro-TikTok, and that will be the discussion of today's show. Yep. And it'll be, for those of you tuning in, welcome. Go ahead and type a comment, a question for either Owen Video or Joel Comm. Tell us if you're for or against TikTok, or maybe you're undecided. Maybe we'll change the minds of some undecideds. Well, we're going to talk about everything. We're going to talk about some of the things that there are some risks, and there are things that you need to be cautious of. And Owen, you actually talked about that on the news broadcast. You're not only pro, you're saying, hey, beware of certain things. I think Joel is like, no, it's for teens and I don't want it, probably because the CCP. So we'll get into some of those things. But Owen is not a teenager, in case any of you have been wondering. And he's been doing a lot of TikToks with his family over the quarantine. So we'll get into some of those subjects as well. But let me ask you, Owen, do you feel that Joel, even though he's Mr. Anti-TikTok, do you think he would be good on TikTok?
Yeah, I think someone like Joel would be perfect on TikTok, you know?
Right.
And yet, you know, it's like, I don't hate on Joel for his position. Like, I think that Joel's done the work. He understands what TikTok is, and knowing the data, he's made his choice. You know, I'm sort of like coming at it from a different approach is, you know, I want to work from within the system. And so, you know, I think it's like, you really got to make the best choice for you. Mm-hmm. But in terms of like the nefariousness of TikTok, you know, I would say that you are using multiple nefarious apps right now, but because the media hasn't thrown it in your face, you're not even aware of it. And we can talk about what some of those apps are today. And I bet you'd be shocked to learn.
Yes. Yes. Definitely want to get into that. And then Joel, what do you want to state your initial position on TikTok?
Well,
and can we change your mind?
No, you can't change my mind. But let me say this, I'm taking a broader view. It's not just about TikTok. Many of the problems I have with TikTok, Yes, it stems from the fact that the CCP has access to it, but I don't think young kids should be using social media to the degree that they are. My friend Tom Kirsting wrote a great book called Disconnected, and I think social media and mobile phones are killing our youth. Not literally, but emotionally and mentally. It is rewiring their brains. And I think we have given them to forms of technology that were sprung on us while we were adults, and we never figured out how to use it right. So how are we going to teach our kids? In fact, 5 years ago, I gave a TED talk on this very subject, being human in a digital world. And my warning was that if we don't figure this out for ourselves, our kids are in trouble. And TikTok is just, a symptom of the trouble we have, which is why I can appreciate that Owen does, I haven't seen your videos on TikTok, but you do them with your family is what I understand. And to me, that's different than just letting your kids go on TikTok and do their own thing.
Yeah, I think that's wonderful. And if I can comment on that, that is my worldview on TikTok. My position on the media is 100% in agreement with Joel. My strategy for counteracting that is a little bit different. We live in a culture where the largest amount of children today in human history, in American history, are growing up without a father. And that means single parent homes, and not a lot of ability to sort of regulate or guide your children through, media awareness. And so what we've sought to do in our family is to be above the media, right? And that's our big thing, is when you know how the media works and when you know what they're trying to do, you can be above it and work within it to create change. So as an example, we started a TikTok channel that's based on dad comedy and family comedy. And my family, we do skits. We write the skits ourselves. We're starting to do some of the viral dances and stuff, but just know that a piece of me dies every time we do it, because I really don't want to do that stuff. I really want to do our own, fresh style of comedy. And a lot of our jokes, a lot of our stuff have come from real life scenarios where the kids have said this, and then we kind of turn it into a skit for filming. But our goal is that we want to do TikTok as a family. And I realized very early on the people liking my stuff, watching my stuff, were children. And I'm thinking, who is letting their kids watch this much TikTok? And so if they're going to be watching TikTok, I want them to be watching a channel where they're going to get strong family values, where they're going to see a man who loves his wife, a man who loves his kids that love each other. And we'll be, we're hoping to be just like a drop in the positive bucket, amidst all the other stuff that's out there. And our goal as a family, our 10-year vision, is to create more channels, not just with us, but with other people that are more family friendly, that are strong values based, not faith based per se. We might do some of that, but values based, just good, wholesome comedy, fun channels. And we think that's how we're going to make our difference in the world.
I think that's great that you're doing that, and I applaud that. But let's face it, you are a minority of minorities of minorities on TikTok. It is a vast wasteland of peer pressure and trying to live up to what others are doing, of young kids being on here, seeing content that is highly inappropriate, all the while giving your data. We're talking your mic is always on. We're talking your fingerprints. We're talking about every video you shoot that the Chinese Communist Party only needs to request from ByteDance this data, and they have to turn it over to them. And to me, it makes absolutely no sense. Now, I know we're being spied upon right now by Facebook. I know we're being spied upon by Twitter, but they're American companies, right? They're not owned by China. This is one of the reasons we're having problems here in this country with Huawei, the phone and tech manufacturer. China is asshole, right? They are horrible to their people, right? They gave the world coronavirus. They lied about it. They're taking away people's political freedoms and liberty. They're putting people in concentration camps right now, today. We talk about the past, and coming from Jewish ancestry, I have family members that know people that were in the concentration camps. I've seen the tattoo numbers on their arms. That's happening right now today in China to dissidents. They're literally spying on every one of their citizens. They've got a tyrannical control. Remember, they are actually harvesting organs from detainees. It's not, this is not conjecture or conspiracy. We know that they're doing this. And for us to be using an application that our data goes back into the hands of the people who are doing this to their own people, it's a huge no. I understand why people are using it. I was on Musical.ly before it was TikTok. I sang along to the things and lip synced and played with it. And remember, I was one of the first ones in our circle that was on Snapchat. And a big fan of storytelling and all that. So I get it completely. I just think there's alternatives.
You're not anti-fun, in other words.
Me? The author of the fun formula? I'm fun personified.
No, what about Vine? Were you using Vine?
I used Vine a little bit, but I wasn't, I think at that time I was making longer form content. I mean, I've been making YouTube videos since 2006. I've been on Twitter and Facebook since 2007. So, I was more in the business arena, and Vine, at that time it was more for kids and
it's entertainment
and entertainment. And honestly, I've already got a zillion channels to watch. I've already got Netflix and Prime and, Hulu and YouTube and whatever. I can watch as much content as I want to watch, and just watching people do stupid stuff for 10 seconds at a time, it doesn't interest me at all. And I find it unfortunate that it's interesting to millions and millions of people because it is mind-numbingly dumb.
Now, couple thoughts on that. Couple points on that is the Chinese government is perhaps the most evil force to exist on the planet since maybe the Nazis. But I don't know that the Chinese are any better than the Nazis. I think we have a different media reporting it differently. So I hear what you're saying, and I'm very passionate about this. I would like to see American companies like Apple pulling out of China in all ways and shapes and form. But I also think about sort of this example I heard a long time ago about these, like some of these hippie communes, like I'm against the people, like all natural, bro. And you can imagine this type of person walking into one of their, granola sort of co-ops to get food. And as soon as that person walks into the bathroom, they're washing their hands with James River soap. They're using Kimberly Edwards paper. Like, these are massive multinational corporations. And even the most purist, like hippie commune person can't avoid sort of the reach of globalism, right? And so where we are coming from in this is, first of all, I strongly considered deleting my account if the app remained in the hands of the Chinese government, right? If it continued to be based in Beijing. As I was doing my research, I was learning a whole lot about this app. And I love the way, first of all, that the United States, Trump specifically, but like the moment you say anything that's not negative about Trump, people jump down your throat. And it's like Trump was able to wrestle away a Chinese company from Chinese control and place it into the hands of a company of his choosing in the United States. That is major, not a shot fired, right? Like really an excellent sort of strong arm diplomacy there, which creates jobs in America, keeps tax dollars in America. The company is head by a Disney executive, which again, we could argue about like Disney being the morality police of our culture. And I think there's some arguments to be made there, right? But it is American based. Every demand that the United States has made of TikTok from a security standpoint, they have complied to. And
have they?
Yeah.
I mean, we say that, but do we really know that? I mean, how many times have we heard that, so-and-so isn't doing this or they're not doing that anymore, and then a story comes out? You cannot tell me that our phones are not listening to us right now to deliver Facebook ads. I don't care what Facebook says.
Yeah, I agree with you. Now, I think that where I would go with that is like, what does Okay, beyond like the minds of America wasting their time on this thing, because those are exactly the minds I'm trying to reach. I'm trying to reach those minds because I agree with you. There's this numbing and this competitive thing that's happening, and I believe that we work more powerfully within the media to make that happen than we do, from the outside. Sort of like, you shouldn't have that. It's like the more we fight against it, the more popular it's going to get. So I'd rather be popular with the younger generation from within the app and lead them into other places on the web in the future. I plan to develop followings of millions and millions of people, that young families and men specifically is sort of where my heart is, and teaching dads to be better dads, and teaching teenage boys that don't have dads to become men, and how to be a man in a culture that really doesn't appreciate the values that men bring to the table, the value of a good father. We really want to impact the world on these.
All important, Owen. And, as a Christian, as a believer, you understand that being in the world but not of it means inserting yourself, like Jesus hanging out with, sinners and prostitutes, right? It's like, that he went to where the people are. And so in a way, you're going to where the people are. But this is not a debate of how Owen is using TikTok versus not using TikTok at all. This debate is about to TikTok or not to TikTok. And again, you are a little glimmer of light in a very, very dark world on TikTok. And, my question for you is could you not accomplish those same goals using an app that doesn't require you to hand over, data to the CCP?
Well, I don't think that they are handing data over to the CCP. I think as of right now, they're under that obligation. As soon as the company is sold to Microsoft or an American company, their servers are based in America. So I don't believe that that's happening.
But that hasn't happened. It hasn't been sold.
It hasn't yet. No, it hasn't yet. So TikTok has agreed to stop clipboard scraping. So did Reddit, by the way. Reddit agreed to stop doing that in light of TikTok being called out. Mm-hmm. And they have said that they're going to do these things. Now, let's put that on the side. In terms of to TikTok, or your question for me was, say it again.
Did I have a question? Oh, why aren't you
do it on a different platform? Could you do it on a different platform?
Okay, so here's the thing: is when Snapchat was big, we got on Snapchat, right? And you grow a network there. Right now, I see TikTok being the next big thing, and I want to be there because yes, it may go away tomorrow, and if it does, there's 38,000 people over there that know who I am. There's millions that watch my videos. So it's not like the app of the future; it's the app of the moment, and I want to capitalize on as best I can to make the biggest impact that I can. In terms of the general population, my question is what is going to happen to the average American citizen who's watching TikToks? What's the CCP exactly going to do to them?
Well, I mean, that's a really good question, but here's the thing. You've got a government, a regime that has ill intent towards their citizens, right? That is already tracking all of their data. There have been wars before where nations have invaded other nations. I'm not saying the Chinese are coming for us right now, but if we get weaker as a country and they get stronger, you never know. And if they know your kids, do you want them having data on your kids? You want them having your kids' fingerprints and their voice prints and their photos and their videos? You never know. That is
I share your libertarian ideals. I really do. I don't put Christmas lights up on my house because I don't want people to know. I don't want people knocking on my door. I don't want people I love my anonymity. That said,
why are Christmas lights in an invitation?
They get people looking at your house.
Okay.
And then people are
driving a fancy cars, like having a Lambo. I would never actually own a Lambo or a Ferrari because why do I want to draw? Why do I want to say, "Hey, look at me"? Why do I want people to think, "Oh, there's
all eyes on me"? Yeah, exactly. Right. I appreciate my anonymity. Now, that being said, I am sort of a fatalist, and I believe they're already listening. They already have our data. If the Chinese government wants me, they're gonna find me. And we have 53 other apps in the App Store with the same security protocols as TikTok.
Yep.
I believe the real nefarious actor, okay, and here's Al Jazeera is one of them, okay? Another one is Bed Bath & Beyond, right? And
So, there's some of the technology is overlapping with it.
It's getting very invasive. My belief is that we're not going to be able to avoid that, right? Like it's going to be part of the new world. And so I want to be able to navigate in that world as opposed to sort of like avoiding the inevitable.
I disagree. It does not have to be part of the world. It's up to parents to decide with their kids look, we should not be handing kids smartphones that they carry with them all the time.
Agreed.
I understand in this day and age having a flip phone so you have a phone at school in case there's an emergency, but we didn't have them when we were kids. You would go to the nurse's office, you would go to the principal's office, and they would call your parents, right? The odds of actually needing a phone to be with you at all times is so small. The trouble saved or the lives saved from a child having a phone in school. So TikTok, don't TikTok. I don't give a crap. My position is that social in general and technology in general is causing these kids to grow up way too soon. They're being exposed to all kinds of stuff that children should not be exposed to at such a young age. They're being sexualized way too early.
Yes.
They're seeing violence. They're seeing hate. They're seeing porn way too early. We're stripping them of their childhood. Once you're an adult, you can never go back. You can never regain that innocence. And yet we're pushing them along, and technology is part of the reason that's doing it. And it's because we as parents have said, okay, my kid wants a phone too, so they're going to have a phone too.
I agree with you. My 13-year-old, my stepson, and I only make that distinction for the purpose of the conversation. My stepson has a phone, and I've been his dad since he was 2, and I hate it. It's not allowed. Like when he comes home, when he's at our house, like the phone gets turned into mom, because I agree with you. Parents aren't doing enough. And part of why I'm more comfortable, I think, with TikTok is because we monitor their screen time pretty like rigidly. And I see
right
Joel, promoting this book, and I haven't read it myself. I've read a handful of other books, but you know what I see? Here's what I see in my kids, right? I see in my kids an awareness and a connectedness that I don't see in the other kids. I definitely see the problem that Joel's talking about here. And I think that a good way to counteract that is by leaders stepping up, media leaders. I had this conversation with a guy who is an influencer in a platform. And we had a different opinion on this, but I believe as media leaders, like it's our job to do more than just make people laugh or teach people, YouTube or whatever the case it is. It's to lead the culture in a way that you find is morally responsible. And so part of what we do is we want to reach parents and teach these media literacy skills so that you can be above the media. I don't think we're going to save everybody. I think that there's some kids that are just so mind numb, and it's not their fault. Kind of their fault, right? But it's a parent's thing. You're right about it. Our approach is to fight the battle from within side while you're fighting it from without. And I think that our goal, our worldview is the same. I think our strategies are
very, very much so. But your question is, it's not whether to TikTok or not. It's whether to use technology responsibly or not. And I would say that most people are not. And we're seeing that kids' brains are actually being rewired, right, to work in a new way. And it's affecting their ability to prosper in the real world. It's causing anxiety. It's causing depression. All kinds of attention deficit disorders are springing forth from this. And so this is why, call me the curmudgeon. My kids certainly grew up around a dad who was online all the time because I was growing a business when they were little, and they would play games on the computers. So maybe too much technology even there, but they weren't online. They weren't surfing the web. I even kept them off of, MMOs, playing, World of Warcraft and stuff until they were a little older, because it's addictive. It's all addictive. I'm addicted to it. You're addicted to it. Deb's addicted to it. And the odds are, if you're watching right now, you too are addicted.
But are you also conscious of it, right? Are you conscious of it? Because
I just said it. I'm
sure you're in a place though where you're like, you know what, a little bit too much today. Like I've been on too much. You feel like negative. When I get up in the morning and I jump right into Twitter, and you know how that affects your day. You know what I mean? We want to give more people those skills. But going back to your point there, I reminded of the story of the starfishes on the beach, right? Where the guy comes in, he sees like hundreds, thousands of starfish dying on the beach. And he sees a man throwing in one at a time. And he goes, what do? You can't possibly save all these starfish. And he goes, no, but I can save this one, and I can save this one. And I think that's what we should be doing. I see that our good friend Lou Mangello is watching. And I think Lou has like such an important role because he's serving families. He's broadcasting to families and to kids and to this environment. He can really make an impact in that community. And that's where I would like to see us going with these tools, because I don't think TikTok is going away. I don't think we're going to beat the New World Order. I think instead we need to work within it to establish leadership there, a lot like, dare I say it, Oskar Schindler, who played by the rules in a system he hated to save so many people. Maybe that's being a little grandiose, but I think you get the message there. If it's not TikTok, if TikTok goes away, and I think this is my bigger point that I'd love to hear your opinion on, Apple still allows these apps to operate. So if it's not TikTok, it's going to be another app. And I'd love to hear from you, Joel, on like the role of Apple and of Google in allowing apps to even work like this. I mean, they allow the framework.
Well, they're horrible.
I think the buck stops like more like with them, and if we attack TikTok, another app will pop up.
You know how I feel about Silicon Valley in general and the big tech companies. They do not have our best interests at heart. Right now where we are streaming on YouTube, we are nothing more than a commodity to them. And if you're watching YouTube, that's it. You're just a product to them. That's all any of us are. They do not care about us as individuals or our families or our future or our privacy or whether our data is protected. We are there so they can sell toilet paper and toothpaste. That's it. Nothing more. We are disposable. And for many in Silicon Valley, we are there to serve. If we're not serving their political agenda, then we don't belong there. And this is why they ban and remove certain groups of people, is because they don't go along with their ideology. And these platforms are really behaving more like publishers. So what is Apple and Google's responsibility? To be irresponsible as they are. They should put more into what they allow into the store. But again, it comes down to our choices as parents. You are one in, a very small number, Owen, that's doing what you're doing. And I admire that. And I would expect nothing less of you. And I wouldn't say to you, don't use TikTok. Deb really wants to get a word in, but I'm not taking a breath, so she can do it. But for the majority of people, it is negative. It is a net loss for the majority of people that are using it, and it's harming our children.
So this is how I get control, Joel.
Good job.
Time out. Right. Okay. So I love this discussion, and I love that the both of you are here because you both offer two different types of opinions. And it also kind of went on to a tangent. April was just asking about how this whole show got together. And part of it was that I kept seeing the discussions about TikTok being banned and people are freaking out. So one, I wanted to make sure that people that were on TikTok, that got on it last year in business, think about, okay, if it does go away or if it gets moved to, say, Reel. So that's some of the questions I want to talk to you guys about is if it moves to a different platform, but really making sure that those business owners who are on it think about, don't just keep your audience on one platform. Think about your email list. Think about that. I want Owen to talk a little bit about the other apps, because that was one of the things at the top of the show. You said it's not just TikTok. And I think that's where people get hung up and they're like, oh, just TikTok's evil. Well, what about all of the other apps? So if you could talk a little bit about the apps that are also scraping debt. So, and just to make a point here too, is when I was, some of my friends I know completely got off the app, especially if they were on Android, because they saw that they were taking data. When I got concerned was when they were doing the clipboard scraping so they could look at your passwords. And then the other thing goes to Joel's point about teens using it. And what they don't know is if they're saving a video in their draft folder, it can be accessed. So if they're sending private things, again, like that's what Snapchat was all about, they need to be aware, like delete it or just don't put it if you don't want it out in public. So go ahead, Owen.
We gave up our privacy, as a culture a long time ago, and in any free society, there's going to be trade-offs. We all have to be educated and decide what level of security is and anonymity is right for us. Okay, so if it's not TikTok, it's going to be another app like Bed Bath & Beyond. And do you know who owns Bed Bath & Beyond? I don't. It could be a Saudi Arabian company. I have no idea because the media hasn't told me. And I haven't looked it up, like there you go. But Al Jazeera, ABC News, there's a variety of like the local, like CBS News. There's a list. Google 53 other apps that do what TikTok's doing. But the one I really want to put at you, because look, I agree with Joel. These people do not care about you. Like we are consumers to them, and when I say they, like them, you hear it in their language, even when they talk with disdain about hardworking people and like real life families. But DJI Global is owned by a Beijing company and is like provably sending drone footage directly to China. No such TikTok paper trail exists.
But we're not here to debate DJI. We can come back to that. But Deb asked me for other apps. Yeah, and I just took some snapshots of it because I wanted to post it in one of our video marketing groups where everyone's all up in arms. And I get it, but I roll my eyes because it's like, dude, you guys you're responding to what the media has asked you to respond. Look at the laser pointer. Boop, boop, boop,
yeah, exactly. Paste it up the wall, and it's like, look at the bigger picture here.
Right. You're totally right. By the way, Bed Bath & Beyond is a American company founded by Warren Eisenberg and Leonard Feinstein, some nice Jewish boys, in 1971. And so
thank you, Google and Joel Comm.
It's Americans. For me, like I'm a little bit more like absolutist on I don't want anybody stealing my data.
Of course.
But since they all are, I don't care if it's an American or if it's like some nefarious Chinese government. Like they've all got it. It's all floating out there. And I don't see like a direct consequence. Now, on the flip side, the reason I believe businesses should be getting involved in TikTok is because it adds filtration to that system. It cleans up the system. When you've got businesses that are like investing into creators, now all of a sudden you have capitalistic reasons to control the content and say no swearing, no nudity, none of these things. We don't want that associated to our brand. And if you want this $10,000, you're going to have to do this for the deal. And I think it's going to clean up the app a little bit. So I like the idea of businesses getting involved because it dilutes. Like right now, it's almost like Portland. Like TikTok is kind of like Portland. Now it's going a little, it's like unsupervised and crazy. Now keep this in mind. The TikTok algorithm, the TikTok that I see is all family stuff and new babies. And it's a cleaner TikTok than I think what Joel's saying. But that's because of what I'm watching. And
my turn. You're not going to see.
Wait, Joel. I pause for 1 second and then definitely retort. But so Owen's bringing up a really good point that I want to talk about for everyone watching and thinking about TikTok and whether you're pro TikTok or anti TikTok and just the medium itself and the technology that's fascinating to me about TikTok and why it took off so explosively. One, I think it's the addictive part of the music. I think it did what no other app before it, like Vine, and it has 1 minute videos. You can go a minute. It's not like 6 second videos. So there's these little earworms that it gets into. The other thing too is I concur with Owen. Same thing is my TikTok. When I downloaded it last year, I have a very different TikTok feed because of what I like. So this is how the algorithm works. And I think it's more, and now Joel would say more nefarious than other apps, but it's more powerful because the algorithm really knows what you look at, what you like.
Every algorithm will be like this in the future. And that's
good job. Algorithm. Yes. Meanwhile, you have millions of kids that are still developing their worldview and physically and emotionally and mentally and spiritually developing and their main teacher is no longer their parents. They are being taught by TikTok. And again, the consequences of this, the peer pressure that they're experiencing today, and I'm not talking about your kids, Owen.
Yeah, no, I get it.
They're doing a lot better, but the majority of them are addicted to this. And it's, how many likes did I get? And they take it to heart.
Mm-hmm.
I know adults who take it to heart, a
Mm-hmm.
lot of them that take it to heart. And if you are getting your self-worth from how many likes, comments, shares, favorites you've got on social media, it is time to reevaluate your life. Now, I do not think TikTok will ever be taken, have a huge people in business using it. It is not designed for people in business to use. It is a novelty. I'm not saying you can't get business from it, but the very nature of it, it's an entertainment app. So unless your business is entertainment, most of you are never going to find business on TikTok. You're going to go to the other platforms. Now, there's one other thing I want to point out here that that we saw as a result of TikTok being banned or perhaps disappearing for good, is that people who were building on it, they built on rented land. And just like Vine went away like that, TikTok can get away like that. And if you are in business and you are not, as Owen referenced earlier, building your list, building your own website. People don't build websites anymore. We have social. You know what? That's foolish to not have your own home base, to not have your own email list, because you never know when a service will get bought out, might get shut down, will be hacked, and the data is lost, or any other number of reasons. And the platforms that we have today, this is not forever. Facebook is not forever. Google is not forever. If there's one certainty we know in the world, is that everything is uncertain, and there are new platforms rising up that do offer privacy, that do offer control. I don't use Google for my search engine anymore. I use the Brave browser. Gives me excellent results, doesn't track me, and I earn cryptocurrency for using it. It's a privacy browser. I don't use Google for a search engine. I use DuckDuckGo.com. They value me. They care about me. They're not treating me like a commodity. There are other social apps out there that give privacy, that reward users, that treat you with respect. And that is the future of social media. It's not TikTok. It's not Instagram. It's not Facebook. It's not Twitter. It's not YouTube.
Talk about some of the alternatives. So there's Triller, there's now Reels on Instagram. Have you used any of those, Joel?
Not a competitor. Just saying.
Not a competitor. You think hands down it doesn't even touch it?
It's like a Hydrox.
Yeah, I don't think there's a competitor to TikTok yet that is legitimate. But honestly, I don't think we need one. I think it just needs to die in a fire. Right. I don't think we need, there's no such thing as a privacy built alternative to TikTok. TikTok is all about look at me, look at me, look at me. Right. And here's all my data. We do need alternatives to Facebook and to Twitter and to Instagram.
I agree. But to your point, that's not what this debate is about. Right. This debate is about the TikTok conversation. And I agree with Carlos. Like, Carlos over here is saying, I've seen many businesses on TikTok. Like the Dentist is a great example of a dentist who is doing great stuff on TikTok. I've saved a bunch of these on my phone too. These chiropractors doing these last minute tips. I want to see more of this. I think that what's happening right now on TikTok is we're seeing a lot of the pre-existing influencers move their content onto TikTok.
Yeah.
But I also think that we're seeing like people like me, like I've never done comedy before. You know, I've only done like YouTube coaching. We're seeing like new creators sort of step out. And so that's kind of where my strategy is I want to see companies coming into TikTok, number one, in sponsorship, like to sponsor channels like mine or channels like yours, so on and so forth, because they set a standard based on a mutual agreement, right? It's not a terms and conditions. Like we agree to pay you, you agree not to swear in your next thing. I think that's a great way to like clean up. It's just like going in these bad neighborhoods. Right? You get more government in bad neighborhoods, it becomes a worse neighborhood. But when you get the businesses into a bad neighborhood, they have some pull to clean things up a little bit.
Well,
so
of course, Owen, you're going to see businesses on TikTok. I'm just saying it's never going to be the platform for businesses.
No, it's never going to be.
Very few people, or you, as a coach, as a consultant, would I say, well, you need to be growing your business on TikTok. Yeah. Right. There's always going to be some, but right now, and if you do that, guess what? The kids are going to go and there will be something else because they don't want to be around all that.
Yeah. And that's kind of what I mean by cleaning it up, and a new app will arise with a new algorithm. And it's like, I get exhausted at the thought of having to fight all the apps. I would rather go and be the light. And I want to encourage other parents, other teens. Look, there's some good kids on TikTok doing stories about like how to love each other. And like, there's this brother and sister that do these comedy videos, and he's kind of nerdy, but she's like really like a cute girl. You know what I mean? And it's fun to see them interacting together. And I want to see more of that. So that's the culture that I'm trying to contribute to.
And I think that's great. And you can't make a blanket statement and just say, oh, everything on it is evil. Of course it's not. Right. It's going to be the good, the bad, and the ugly. My take on TikTok and social in general is that we as it began, it was a net gain, and now we are at a net loss. No matter how many people there are like you, the impact that it is having on culture, on our children and their future is a net loss. And I don't see that turning around as it is in its current incarnation.
What's the book? What's the book that you were holding up?
This is Tom Kirsting's book, Disconnected. Fantastic stuff. He's a psychotherapist. He's a speaker. He's hosted shows on A&E before. He hosted Surviving Marriage, I think was the book. And he knows more. He's done more research about how tech is harming today's youth. And I recommend all parents go grab a copy of Disconnected, and it will make you take a second look.
I hope it does, because these are the kinds of books that unplug you from the matrix. You know, and I think that this is really, really important to know when you're a product of the media, because when you are, it's really hard to see it, right? You think everybody else is an idiot and everybody else, and it's like, whoa. Like I hear, and you know me, Joel, I kind of try to avoid some of the conversations online because it's like, these people are just like trained robots. Like there is no independent thinking here. It's just what I saw on the headline. Right. And so I agree with that, and I see with that. And I think it's really important that we come to know, like, as a culture, teaching how to navigate oneself safely on the web is like an essential skill that parents need to be equipped with. You know, as much as that schools, it should be a part of our culture, media, safety. And I look, I don't share your optimism, but I appreciate it. I believe that the future of social media is going to be less privacy. It is going to become, I think, rather dark at some point. But I also think that's 200-300 years in the future. I think right now they're using our data to show us the right kind of commercials to sell us, napkins and things on Facebook.
Toilet paper. Okay, but Owen, what you're saying is, all right, I'm going to just use the platform that they're giving us, and you say, I don't see it changing. Well, instead, why not say, screw this platform, I'm going to find something that does protect my privacy and my kids, rather than saying that's not going to happen for 200-300 years?
It's a great question. Parler is something that I'm really starting to look at, right? Unfortunately, I haven't heard of any sort of breakout type of strategy yet for Parler. I'm watching it. I'm paying attention to it. And when that starts to bubble, like I want to pay more attention to it. Right now, I'm not that guy, right? Like in an army, you've got the Marines that go in on the ground, and you got the Air Force. Like right now, I'm not gonna build this new app and this new motion guy. I'm gonna pull starfish out or throw starfish back in. I'm gonna try to make an impact on these individuals through the platform that's really hot right now.
So Joel, I feel like if you created the iFart app, maybe you might be the person that is commissioned to lead the charge for a better
family values. Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
I'm not the guy to create the app, but I know people who are creating the apps. I use several of the apps. I use Rebuzz. I use Voice. I use SoMe Social. I use Uptrend. Probably sites that all of you have never heard of.
No, that's correct. I haven't heard of them.
And small audiences. But I pioneer stuff. I like to play with the new toys when I see them.
You are.
And
two things, Joel, I want you to bring up a little bit about your background with Yahoo Games, because I don't think a lot of people know that. I think that's what in the 90s. Talk a little bit about that, because I think that's the other part of your background and you're looking at these apps.
I built my first website in 1995, but 15 years before that, I dialed into online services. I was on BBSs when I was 16 years old with my TRS-80 Model 1 in a 300 baud modem, dialing in. So I've been in the online world for 40 years now. But I built my first website in 95 and partnered with a programmer in 97 that had built the very early rudimentary form of a multiplayer game site. You could play chess and checkers and hearts and spades and backgammon. And I partnered with him. We called it Classic Games. And in 1998, Yahoo acquired it. And it was my first 7-figure deal. And he went to work for them, and I took the money and moved on to my next thing. And I built dealofday.com, one of the first bargain hunter coupon sites that I sold 13 years later for a nice sum. And then I moved on to something else. And even before that, I was moving on to other things.
I love that about Joel Comm. This is why, like, I look at Joel Comm as the type of guy I've always wanted to be. Joel Comm is willing to put and I mean that, like, Joel Comm's willing to put the arrows, take the arrows in the back. He's a pioneer. I'm an early adopter, right? So I kind of like, I'm one level below that, and I let the pioneers take a couple of arrows, and then I sort of decide which is the safest route to go. So look, we all have a role to play. And so, like, you know, I see there's a lot of people watching. You know, I want you guys to think about, like, what is your role in all this? Is your role to go to be on like pioneer, like Joel, an early adopter, or something else, an influencer, and play that role to the best of your ability?
Pioneers are a small number of people willing to do that, and it's not that, you know, I don't choose that role. It's just
it shows you.
It's who I am. And if you're not that person, that's fine too. I mean, we need Main Street. We need the mass adoption where people, you know, I bought the first iPhone 2 weeks after it came out. And I have had every one since because I want to play with the toys.
Every one? You don't skip a generation?
I may have skipped one. I know I've stepped on a couple.
Do you have the 9?
I started skipping like 2 years ago.
I've got an X right here. So I don't have whatever the newest one is.
So games, Joel, you talking about Yahoo Games, right? And one of the things that I look at, and I feel like I played some of your Yahoo games because Yahoo was my first address, but I find now they're designed to be more addictive. They're designed to almost a fake environment where they're designed to make you win. Like, I'm good at canasta, but I'm not 98% win good at canasta, right? So talk a little bit about how they make you, like, it sets you up to stay on the platform.
Yeah, it's all about
talk a little bit about that.
It's all dopamine hits. And
yes.
I just did it myself. I just, you know, my latest thing that I released just a couple weeks ago was a set of digital collectible trading cards that you purchase packs of them and you rip them open online and cards come popping out, different cards with original artwork and different variations. We sold out in 30 minutes, sold 12,500 packs of these at $5 and $25. And it's all about dopamine. It's all about what's inside here and what's next. And it's about entertaining people and about giving, delighting them, right, with an experience that they haven't had before. So, and games are getting better and better at doing that. You know, what's going to happen when I do this? Will I get the reward? Will Pavlov reward me? With the carrot on the stick or the nice juicy steak. And there's always another reward waiting.
Pavlov, by the way, was sort of part of this nefarious group of social scientists. You know, not a lot of people know that, but there's a reason his studies made it into the books and the others didn't. It's how they reward the people of groupthink. You know what I mean? And you guys are exactly right about games. TikTok is the same thing. Like, make no mistake, it is designed to make you win. I've seen this algorithm. We've paid a lot of attention since the first upload, right? Because I built my career on YouTube. And not even really as a YouTuber, but using YouTube in a variety of different ways to grow business, to grow my business. And, TikTok, I entered into that platform paying attention to the algorithm. And, they reward you almost predictably. It's like, at first you get a whole ton of views. Like, it takes a while to get views, but then they see that you're uploading and trying, and they'll let one of your videos will pop. I've seen all sorts of people on TikTok, my peers and just kids and stuff. And it's like, if you upload long enough, TikTok will eventually let one of your videos really go out there. And they're only like 10 seconds. So it's really easy for someone to flip through a whole bunch of content, count your view, and make you feel like
and you're forgotten.
Yes.
That's it.
And people
getting philosophical. Right.
And that's the big thing, right? It's like people need to know that, right, when they go into it, that the app was designed to make you feel like a winner, which is why it's important to stay above the media, get people on another platform. Like it's not, I fully believe in that, you know, and part of what we're doing on TikTok right now is trying to develop an email list of people that like this kind of comedy so that when we launch our YouTube channel around this, we have people that we can invite it to. And there's going to be tons. You're right about YouTube. You're right about Facebook. There's going to be tons more. And I'm excited to see what those will be, because I don't think Facebook will be the thing forever.
No, it shouldn't be. You know, look, if TikTok were named according to reality, it is the legitimate short attention span theater, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what it's made for. It is that quick hit, on you go, and you forgot what you just watched. And how many times can you hear, I'm bored in the house and I'm in the house bored? I know, we get it, everybody. You're locked in quarantine and you're bored in the MFN house. I know.
See,
you.
I don't know that song, but I assume it's a song that's trending that people are going to, just as evidence that you kind of see a different TikTok. We all sort of see a different.
Yes. Well, just like we see a different Twitter, we see a different Facebook, right?
Yeah.
It depends who you're following. I mean, for some people, you know, they go to Twitter and it's nothing but hate. Well, guess why? Because you're following the people that, you know, that's instigating that. I try and clean my feed more and more. I don't want to see, look, Facebook and Twitter for me, it's about me sharing what I think. It's not about what you think when I post something. It's about what I think. And I don't post something so that you come in and then debate me or tell me I'm wrong. That's not why I do it. I do it because I have something I want to say. It's not an invitation for you to come in and be a jerk. Guess what? Bye-bye. Leave. But it's social media. You know what? It's what I want it to be.
I've learned that from your example, and it's really liberated me, because I don't feel like I have to respond to every comment. In fact, I'll respond to whatever comment I want to respond to.
Right.
As my wife and I, we make content that has an opinion. Like, we've planted our flag in certain areas, you know, and like that causes contention. I've watched my wife really struggle with it, and I've coached her as best as a husband can coach. Sometimes it's better just like be someone for her to talk to. But, you know, to like remember that you don't have to respond to that person. That person who made that comment, they didn't congratulate you on your birthday. They didn't stop in on our kids' birthdays or anniversaries. They saw something that they didn't like and they decided to ruin your day. You are under no obligation to repond to them.
You don't owe anybody anything.
100%.
Except you know, your landlord, right? You know, you got to pay your bills.
Not this year, it's 2020.
But,
Joel.
you know what I say? Don't let anybody should on you. You do you. Part of this is experience and age, right? I'm 56. I've been doing this a long time, and I didn't always see it this way. There was times where I felt like I needed to do more. I just posted the other day on Twitter that I don't answer emails that I don't want to, or messages anywhere. I'm under no obligation to respond to you. And people are like, well, that's just rude. No, it's not.
How do you do that?
It's not rude at all. You enter into my space, and you're telling me now I have to do something in return? No, I don't have to do.
Those are the perks of age and growing older, Joel.
But
I love that you're sharing.
Get off my lawn, you kids.
Jason Moffat, I love that he popped in. He had a comment earlier, if I can find it. Also made you invented the internet before Al Gore. I love Jason Moffat because he comes in for the funny, but where was it? The get off my lawn. I can't find it. There are a lot of comments.
Somebody told me once that I did not invent the internet, but I made it cool. So there's that.
That could be true. Here you go. There's Jason Moffat. Joel's all get off my lawn. What I love about the two of you guys is that you have different opinions, and I want to wrap up this show and this segment on this, because you also just touched on a topic that we're going to talk about next week. You both know Mark Joyner, I'm sure. He's going to join in, talk about mind control and media. So if you guys, we may want to pop you guys back in and talk about this, because we kind of segued a little bit, and I didn't realize that was going to happen, but I guess that's par for the course these days. But where you said it, I think, Owen, Joel, you said the laser pointer, and Owen, you were like, wherever the media wants you to look, that's what people focus on. And what you guys were just talking about is we get triggered, or someone gets triggered, and then they feel like they have to attack you, right? The keyboard warrior. So I want to talk about about mind control, about media manipulation, because so many of all of us, myself included, we're getting triggered and we're being used and manipulated with our emotions. We're going to talk about that.
But about this?
Yes, and what I love about you two is that even though you both have two different opinions and two totally different outlooks on TikTok, right? Joel's totally anti and Owen's totally like, let's embrace it and let's change it from within. You're still able to civilly have a discourse that's not an attacking. So I love that, and I applaud that, and I hope other people take an example. So go ahead, Joel.
He's awesome.
Here's the mic.
There is the mic right there. And I just can't remember what it was. I'm sure whatever it was I was going to say was amazing. But
the mind control.
Mark Joyner is amazing. He's got a way of posing these questions.
Yes.
It's really interesting to see over the past few years how just him asking those questions has filtered who's following him. And it for me, it affirms that I'm seeing things in an accurate way, because I see who runs away from real conversation and who attacks, and the people who are following him has become very self-regulating. Here's the thing. You have your right to your opinion, but you do not have a right for me to care what you think. And that's the difference. You can have your feelings. Go take your feelings and go feel somewhere, but you don't have a right to demand that I care how you feel about it, or that
feel the same way,
or feel
the same way. Yeah.
Or even demand that I have empathy for you, right? I can choose to have empathy for somebody in a moment, but you cannot demand that anybody feel, react, behave, think in a way that you want them to. It doesn't work like that. And unfortunately, we have brought up a generation of touchy-feelies that, there's nothing wrong with teaching empathy, but we have really, really harmed the next generation by giving them a sense of entitlement, that they're all, everybody's a precious snowflake. You're all different.
Yes, I don't disagree at large.
How about it small?
On a micro level, I am very encouraged by this Gen Z generation, especially like the early 20 somethings coming out of high school, because I agree with you. Like, there's been this sort of everyone gets a trophy culture that's come out of America, but there is a very vocal, very powerful minority that rejects that, and I'm seeing such entrepreneurialism. I am seeing such hard work and determination coming from these kids. My nephew, for example, I watch him. He sees it. He goes, these kids are so mind numb. They're born in privilege. They're going to die. They're never going to know what it's like to have to hustle. So while they're over here exploring their feelings, I'm going to make $3 million. I love that attitude. And if you know those people, if those are your nephews, your cousins, your little brothers or whatever, I want to know them. I want to know about those kids, because, that just provides me with a ton of encouragement. I think there's a bunch of like flaccid weenies out there that'll just go wherever the wind blows them. But, it's that generation.
W's, for short.
Tweenies, I think it's something.
Well, I feel it's almost this dividing era right now, where there's consumers, right? Consumers of the TikTok video, and they just consume, and then the creators, right? You're both creators. You're teaching a whole student group of other creators. And I think if anyone watching this is a creator themselves, you have the opportunity to take hold of all of the consumers out there that just want to get that content. But I think that's the biggest thing too, is not being so addicted, not getting sucked in, and not even getting sucked into some of the dissension on social media. And I think it's interesting, Joel, because again, I think you and I were both writing literally the first books on Twitter. I think it was in August, 2006, 2008. And I remember people talking about, the evils of Twitter and evils of social media. And I didn't see it. I didn't see it then. And now I'm finally, 16 years later, I'm finally starting to see what the people that were the naysayers are. Like, we're finally seeing it. And it's horrible where so many people are attacking each other. And it's horrible how we're being manipulated and controlled. So that's what we're going to talk about next week. I invite both of you on, but any final last words from both of you on TikTok or not, or anything else?
I want to just again appreciate Joel for everything that he's doing in the industry, right? To raise awareness about privacy concerns and even about just the economic, financial, sound, good teaching and coaching. So I love that Joel's out there, and I love that he's doing, and we need more Joels. You know, I'm playing a different role. You know, I'm playing a different role of trying to influence within that culture. I'm kind of like the assassin from Firefly, you know, where he says, you know, you're never going to see your utopia. And he goes, I can't live in that utopia. I'm not designed for that utopia. I don't know that I'm designed in this world where everything's like more libertarian. I'm like so ready to fight against people suppressing that and spreading our values and creating good values. And so that's what we're focusing on, is great content. We want to be the salt. We want to be the light that's out there. And that's what we're committed to. But I'll tell you, as soon as, you know, we can grab back, we can put like the muzzle on Apple a little bit and get a little bit more control back. You know, that's a movement I want to see grow.
How do you do that to a true $2 trillion company? You know,
no idea.
$2 trillion, you know, and of course, you know, I love you, Owen, and you, Deb. You're both great friends and great humans. And I appreciate what you're doing out there in the world, Owen. I mean, go into the darkness and be light. Realize that none of these platforms are forever. And right now, all of them, they're what we call for businesses. Okay. Not for your kids, but for businesses, they are necessary evils. And they're not going to stop being evil. Okay. That's not going to happen, but they will stop being necessary at some point.
Oh, that's so good. Oh, I need a bumper sticker that says that.
Want a Post-it note, Owen?
Joel Comm.
I'll put it right
and I think, Joel, we're going to have you back on, and we'll have to talk about cryptocurrency, because I know crypto has been your big focus. Any thoughts on that? Just to put a little.
Oh, totally the future. I mean, when
what about voting? Do you think we're going to have a?
We have to do something voting. Blockchain voting definitely solves one of the two of the big problems. We should have voter ID, no question about it. Anybody who doesn't understand that you need an ID for virtually everything else, and says that the most important thing we do doesn't require an ID, it has got their head in their rectum.
Do you think blockchain voting would solve all of this?
It can. It can. There's no better solution, as far as I'm concerned, than having an identification and a paper ballot and going down. Your name's on the list, and once it's been crossed off, that's it. You don't send ballots everywhere. You have to go there to get one, or you have to request an absentee ballot. See, a lot of people don't even understand this debate that's happening right now, that between universal mail-in voting. They think that it's absentee voting. No, it's not. Absentee ballot, you have to request it. I'm going to be out of town. I'm going to be gone. I can't make it. Send me, this person, a ballot to this address. Universal mail-in voting, which one side wants to do, is saying, let's shoot out millions of ballots and send them to every name on the roll, to every address that we have. That means dead people. That means duplicates. That means people who have moved. It is rife with fraud. Anybody with a scratch of common sense can know this. So absentee, good. Universal mail-in, bad. Can blockchain fix it? Potentially, but blockchain can fix an awful lot. And I'll close with this. When I discovered the World Wide Web, after I'd been on CompuServe and Prodigy and Delphi and Genie and these other services that were login type services, before I discovered the web in January 1995, I said, wow, this is going to change the world. And I built a website. When I discovered and understood blockchain technology in early 2017, it smelled just like that. I said, this is it. I'm having deja vu. It's happening again. It's blockchain. It's cryptocurrency. This is the future. I want to learn more. I want to play with these toys. I want to go in here. And now for more than 3 years, we've been doing a podcast, myself and Travis Wright. It's called the Bad Crypto Podcast. And we are now actually impacting the future of blockchain, not just talking about it and interviewing people, but we're creating products on this. And it's really exciting. And I see myself doing this for a number of years.
Oh, and did you realize as he was talking about that, he really is the old guy on the show?
No, I refuse. No way. He is my Neil Diamond, and there is no way.
But look at the gray in your beard, Owen. I mean,
it is. Thank you. I want to thank the supply chain for screwing up the hair dye.
And one of us
really?
might be older and not receding as much as the other either.
I will tell you, the idea that I have to monitor my beard and my hair forever disgusts me. But being an international YouTube celebrity, I do what I can.
You're kind of a big deal. And by the way, love your work, Owen. I mean, I don't watch a lot of YouTube and training, but when I see your thumbnails and how professionally they're done, and I see your videos, you really put everything into them. You truly care, and you deserve success for that.
I appreciate you. Thank you so much.
The king of thumbnails. Thank you both. Thank you for debating. I love this. You made my job easy. I'm going to now say the pen is my timeout, and I'm going to have to coach people beforehand now. Every once in a while, I'm going to ring you in, but this is fantastic. Love both of you guys. Thank you for sharing. Oh, there's the money button.
By the way,
yes,
these have been made in China for years. I'm not making anymore. I stopped. I'm pulling.
Can you find a place that makes them in the U.S.?
I'm not even going to try. I'm done. I'm like, you know what? This was a season, and now that China has really become such a disaster, I'm like, I'd rather just give up making them and move on to my next thing. Even though, I mean, I sell a couple thousand of them every year on Amazon. They bring in, a net of about 20 grand, and I'm giving it up.
Oh, and the final last words is from Anna. Joel, makes a lot of sense. Look at that.
Well, if that's how you feel, Anna, then maybe it's time to reevaluate,
Her sanity.
Yeah.
You guys are awesome. I love you. And I'll see you. And there's Gregor next week when we have Mark Joyner on the show. Ciao.
Cool.
Bye, guys.